A fan of my kitchen vlog wrote to me today and said, "Isn't it about time? Aren't you about due for another book review or political news story or something?" Yes, there has been a lot happening. What I wanted to get into as far as the news, and that's going to be a jet going over. The news is happening rapidly, more rapidly than I can keep up with it sometimes. And see, that always distracts me, noises like that. Anyways, last night, today's Saturday, Friday evening, I tuned into MSNBC. There's a news program. It's my favorite news program on MSNBC. No, it's not Rachel Maddow. I don't care for Rachel Maddow. A lot of the news programs are news and opinion, news and commentary. Her program is news and attitude. I don't need someone to tell me what my attitude should be. I'm intelligent enough to form my own attitude about the news. So I could say worse about her, but I won't. Okay, my favorite show is The 11th Hour with Brian Williams, because I think he's fair and he talks at a reasonable rate of speed. Like Chris Hayes, forget it. I can't watch Chris Hayes. He talks so fast. I sit there. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? I can't keep up with him. Does he think he gets paid by the amount of words he says per hour? I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and my mind is getting slow. The latter is probably more true than the former. Okay. So I'm tuned into MSNBC, Brian Williams, The 11th Hour, and he says, once again, we've had to scrap what we were going to talk about on this show and start anew, because this is what has happened in just the past couple of hours. And that's what's in the news, right? This is this Andrew McCabe, a target of FBI Trump's FBI scorn, is fired over quote-unquote candor questions. We don't have the final report, so we don't know just how legitimate this firing was. Andrew McCabe, the former FBI deputy director and a frequent target of President Trump's scorn, was fired Friday after Attorney General Jeff Sessions rejected an appeal that would have let him retire this weekend. He was within hours of his regular retirement. He would have gotten pension. They fired him like 25, 26, 27 hours before he would have retired. He's going to appeal that, and I hope he wins so that he gets his pension. It was almost like they were punishing him because he wouldn't be a Trump loyalist. And they're saying that these actions were intended to undermine the special counsel's investigation, in which he is a potential witness. He's a witness anyways. One of the bits of information they included was that, like Comey, he kept contemporaneous notes with all of his interactions with the White House and things he knew were going on in the FBI. Those contemporaneous notes, very valuable in a court case. So, and they said that Mueller already has those notes. He would have already turned those over to Mueller. So he's already got the information he needs, but he'll probably be questioned, this McCabe. And Trump didn't do himself any favors by firing this guy hours before he qualified for his pension. He's not going to be soft on Trump as best he can while telling the truth when questioned by the FBI, Mueller's investigation team. So Trump didn't do himself any favors. And some are saying that maybe this is an effort of Trump's to go on further into actually removing Mueller. As a witness, Mr. McCabe would be in a position to corroborate the testimony of the former FBI director, James B. Comey, who kept contemporaneous notes on his conversation with Mr. Trump. So this man is not going to be helpful for Mr. Trump now that he's fired him. President Trump. I don't like calling him President Trump because to me he's not legitimately the president. And when I use president in my writing, I usually use the lowercase p, president, rather than a capital P for President Trump. It's just my own bias. We all have bias. Another one. This was today, March 17th. Trump lawyer says special counsel inquiry should be ended. Big news. Ooh, they're going to try to end. Well, this counsel, this lawyer, John Dowd, is not the White House lawyer. That's Ty Cobb. This John Dowd is a personal lawyer of Donald Trump. Who knows how much weight his words have. The headline is a lawyer for President Trump's, I should say the lead, a lawyer for President Trump called on the Justice Department on Saturday, that's today, to end the special counsel investigation into ties between Russia and the Trump organization, Trump campaign. Further down, his remarks capped another round of revelations in recent days, these stuffs happen daily, that reinvigorated or displayed Mr. Trump's frustrations with the investigation that has cast a shadow over his presidency. And when I see things like this happening, it's like, what are they trying to hide? What do they need? What do they need to hide? That's the big question. I mean, we're not going to know until everything comes to light, everything is revealed. And then finally, this also yesterday from the Washington Post, a different story, but again, it happened yesterday afternoon, and MSNBC had to cancel their planned programming and start writing a new program for Brian Williams to cover during his program. Trump attorney accuses Stormy Daniels of violating non-disclosure agreement 20 times, claims right to seek $20 million in damages, like she has it, right? It's just an effort to try to keep her quiet. Again, why? And then another effort. A lawyer representing Trump said he intends to join the push to return the proceedings to arbitration, in which all proceedings are confidential. They don't want it to go into a public court because they don't want the information to become public. What is Mr. Trump trying to hide? That's just the latest. I'm not going to go into details. I could talk for an hour just about the stuff that goes on daily in the news. It's like you can't keep up with it. Okay, books that I've read. I'm going to slide over this way, and I'm going to put the books over here. I just finished reading this book. The book is The Truth About Trump by Michael D'Antonio. And this was a good book. I got to tell you, it was more like a biography that covers Trump's life somewhat from his, I mean, it doesn't go into a lot of depth, but from his childhood, what kind of child he was, his education in a military academy and how that influenced him, affected him, his early real estate ventures, working with his father, who was a real estate man in New York, and where he went from there, some of his greatest and worst accomplishments. Maybe they were the same. Anyways, one thing that I did pick up from this book that I really appreciated learning, because I would see like clips of him on TV where he says, I've never had any dealings with Russia. I don't have any business deals in Russia. I don't have any real estate ventures in Russia. I have never borrowed any money from Russia. What? Well, what they brought out in that book is that he's very good, when it suits his purpose, of compartmentalizing. So he can say, I don't have this. I have never done that. They use the example of him saying that he has never filed for bankruptcy. There are half dozen bankruptcies associated with him. But he, Donald Trump, the man, has never filed personal bankruptcy. The Donald Trump organization has. So that's how he compartmentalizes, saying he's had no dealings with Russia. But of course, the Donald Trump organization has. His son, Donald Trump Jr., months ago on TV said that they can get all the money they want from Russia to fund the golf courses when they're building golf courses around the world. They borrowed the money from Russia. Well, that's the organization. See, Now, when he's trying to brag about himself and all the wonderful things he does, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I'm worth tens of billions of dollars. Well, then all of a sudden he brings it all together. He is the man and the organization. But when he has to weasel out of something, he can separate them and say, I, the man, I, Donald Trump, have never done this or never done that. Meanwhile, the organization is guilty as hell. Okay. I kind of rushed through that book a little bit because I really wanted to get to the next book, which I've just started reading. I think I've read 4 chapters because they started talking about this on the news. And I know these 2 authors, Michael Isikoff and David Corn. I read their book back during the Bush-Cheney regime, whatever you want to call it. The book was called Hubris, The Inside Story of Spin, Scandal, and the Selling of the Iraq War. I read that book, and that was an important book to me. This is when I really started to read a lot of books because I didn't want to feel lied to. I wanted to know what was going on, and they go into, these guys, Bob Woodward, a lot of these authors go into a lot of detail to tell you what's going on. Like, for example, at Iraq War, we didn't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud. Talk about lying to the American people. The Iraqis didn't even have weapons of mass destruction, let alone nuclear weapons, atom bombs. It was really about oil. They were trying to get the U.S. in there to liberate the Iraqi people from a terrible dictator, Saddam Hussein, and he was awful, and then put a puppet president in who would be favorable to American interests and would reward the United States for what we did for them by selling Iraqi oil to us on the cheap, undercutting OPEC prices, which would be good for the U.S. economy and also help the Republicans, therefore, in the next election. That was the whole plan. I don't want to go into any further. I get get pissed off because that was a rough period for me. That whole thing. I can remember the chants, no blood for oil, no blood for oil, and I just did not want to see the U.S. involved because I knew what was going on. I knew what they were doing. Anyways, this is the book that I wanted to get to, this here. It's called Russian Roulette, The Inside Story of Putin's War on America and the Election of Donald Trump. I think this book, I mean, what I can see so far is this book, it's not going to be as much of a page turner as Wolf's book, Fire and Fury, which was really the inside scoop because he had a semi-permanent place on the sofa in the West Wing. But it's going to be one of these exposés that's going to really tell us the story as far as what's going on. And I think that is going to be the revelation that is going to... I don't want to make any serious promises, not having read the book yet, but to me that strikes me as like the revelation of this is what's really going on. Aha, this is what Donald Trump and his people have been trying to hide, but the truth is out. So I'll know more. I'll know more as I can delve more deeply into that book. As I said, I've only read, I think, 4 chapters so far. I've got a long ways to go. I think it's 20 chapters in the book, 25 chapters. And it's an easy book to read. So I think it's very logical the way it's laid out, and you can follow it very well. So as was this last book, The Truth About Trump. Very easy to read. Very interesting book to read. I recommend both of them. And if you want to go back to some history, see if you can find copies of Hubris, because that was a good book too. I like Isikoff and Korn. I think they're good authors. So there's my book review. This is some of my information lately about the news, what has captured my interest. There's news going on right now. I know there's news going on right now because Trump didn't spend, this is Saturday, Trump didn't fly down to Mar-a-Lago in Florida to spend the weekend. He's in the White House. So you know he's raising Cain. You know he's doing something in there. And it'll be in the news this evening, tomorrow morning. Anyways, that's some of the latest news, my latest review, book review, and latest take on the news. Again, as I always like to say, if you like what you're listening to, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Tell others. Maybe I can get my subscriptions up, although they have been doing well. I have enough subscriptions now that I qualify for a unique YouTube URL, which I haven't selected yet. I have to make a couple of changes before I do that. But it's taking off slowly, as did my cooking videos. Those took off very slowly, but they're doing well enough now that they pay for themselves. These videos aren't monetized, so I'm not making any money off these videos. I just do it for the fun because I enjoy doing this. So that's my latest. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. Watch the news, read books.